Carney knew this deal. The deal is on paper. He misrepresented it to us so many times. And this was one of the things that he, we hear again and again and again that our prime minister is a good deal maker. He's a business mind. He has run, the economies of countries before.
Yeah.
But here's just the biggest flop ever in the history of Canadian investment. Hi, thanks for joining us. TPLmedia.ca is where you have found yourself. We are Canada's podcast network. I'm Mike Wixson. Joining me today, Paul Micucci.
Hey, Mike.
My brother, you went away for 1 week and a little bit, and the whole country fell apart while we were separate. You went down east to take the message of True Patriot Love and TPL down there. And while that was happening, man, considering it's summer, a lot of stuff went down.
Well, a lot went down, and it's interesting. Now they're back. So I just missed them. I was in PEI, and they actually landed as I was heading to Halifax.
Oh,
so
the premieres.
So I missed the premieres, and I was so disappointed. But the good thing is, Mike, what I found out from the locals is they'll be back again next year during lobster season, and everyone on PEI is so excited to share their lobster with our premiers. So
really the premiers go down there for a lobster picnic.
Yeah,
essentially.
It looks like that's the end of lobster season. So they get to go down, enjoy the sun, the beach, and really interesting times. Beautiful. PEI is a beautiful place in the summer. In the winter, I don't know if I'd want to be there too long, but beautiful place. And they do go down and enjoy some great big lobsters. Oysters, unfortunately, this year, there's an oyster disease. So quite frankly, they're struggling. They're restricting licenses again, which is something they've done on lobster, oysters, cod. Cod on the East Coast is off the hook good this year.
Okay.
So I'm sure a bunch of them will be coming back with freezers full of cod.
You mentioned all kinds of lobster this season, too. It's they're having a bounty. So, congratulations to our premiers for enjoying a great lobster visit to PEI.
Every year.
It doesn't slow them down. They seem to be getting together more and more. This is a crowd of individuals that seem to be trying to replace our federal government by just working together.
Oh, yeah. Working together means working apart.
Yeah, it seems to be. Well, it's just so funny.
Canada. All for one and all for each other.
All for ourselves. Yeah.
I
don't know if I've ever seen the premiers get together so much in the history of Canada, but they're sure doing it now. Listen, while you're away.
Well, they do it. They do it when actually something is harvested, caught, or ripened. So they're good at that.
That's when they show up the most. Yeah. Oh, the apples are good this time of the year. Oh, here comes the premier.
Yeah.
One of the things, of course, that hit the top of the list for us to talk about, and we'll get to the ramifications of our deals with the U.S., was, and in Carney's own words, he should have been clear about the Gordie Howe Bridge agreement, but boy, oh boy, did he ever get called on this.
Oh, yeah.
And as we were starting the show, Christoph brings over the tablet and he goes, look, they're having a ribbon cutting at the Gordie Howe Bridge. Today,
just before noon, decided that Canada was going to have their own ribbon cutting.
What do you mean?
So I think the Premier of Ontario and the Mayor of Windsor are going to go partially over the bridge. It's from what we see where it's set up, on the kind of the Canadian side. I guess they're nervous. They don't want to go too far across the bridge. And
that would be considered an invasion, I believe.
Exactly at this point, because the official opening. And they're going to do some form of ribbon cutting.
Oh.
Say a few words and then, quickly get off the bridge before anyone shows up, I guess. But
that's what I'm thinking. So the U.S., it's only Canada. We're only celebrating ourselves in this?
Because of the tariffs, which we're going to talk. This show was about tariffs, but no, it's all right. They decided that they should celebrate the fact that we spent $6.4 billion to put this bridge up, ended up giving half of it at the last minute to the U.S. after a mistaken description of the deal by the Prime Minister. And now, with all that going on, they decide that's reason to celebrate.
Here, let me give you a quote. MP Kelly McCauley announced plans for a committee investigation into this because finally the opposition has found something to say, oh, this is untenable. What have we done here?
Yeah, and Andrew Scheer, which actually we have a clip we're going to throw up for you. Andrew Scheer actually had some funny comments on it.
All right, Andrew Scheer.
And then on the Gordie Howe Bridge, Mark Carney, after promising that he had some kind of special powers, that he could deliver wins for Canada, after handing over concession after concession, he actually hid the Gordie Howe deal with the U.S. because he was so embarrassed by it, and rightly so. The previous government had secured a 100% toll collection agreement where Canada would keep 100% of the tolls until the construction costs were repaid. Mark Carney just signed away a deal that gives 50% of those revenues, fully half of the expected revenues that Canadians were supposed to receive, now go to the United States, including a special envelope for economic development in Michigan. So instead of dollars going to repay Canadians' taxpayers' investment in that bridge, those tolls are going to go to help create economic opportunities in the United States. And Mark Carney tried to hide this from Canadians. This is just another example of how Mark Carney is just delivering illusions for Canadians, no real results. He's been Prime Minister now for over a year, and nothing has gotten better.
On the Gordie Howe International Bridge, a committee meeting has been called for next week to discuss the deal. What do you expect to come out of that meeting? Who do you think we should hear from?
Well, first and foremost, we're calling on the Liberal government not to shut down this meeting. They've done this in the past where opposition MPs recall a committee to get to the bottom of things, and we've seen the government just use their newfound majority to just completely kill the investigation. This is a major expenditure for the Canadian people. Canadian taxpayers built 100% of the costs for this bridge, including hookups to U.S. interstates. And the deal was, in return, we would get repaid first. The Canadian taxpayer would be kept whole first. Mark Carney can't even come clean. He can't even admit to Canadians what's in the deal. So we'd like to start with actually seeing the agreement. We'd like to get an understanding from the government. Did they get anything in return for this concession? We've seen Mark Carney offer unilateral concessions before and get nothing for them. He very quietly dropped retaliatory tariffs in the middle of a campaign and kept that hidden from Canadians. He backed down on the digital services tax and got nothing in return. So he just gave up 50% of the toll revenues, pushing back the repayment timelines for Canadians by 15 years. Did he get anything in return? What did Canada get out of this deal? So Mark Carney has to explain to Canadians how they're better off. How are we better off losing 50% of the revenue? I mean, he's a banker. He should be able to answer these kinds of questions. I don't know too many investors that would think losing half of what you were promised is a win, unless he's got something to tell Canadians that he's keeping secret. Did he get anything back from the United States in return? Is this going to lead to a deal on CUSMA? Is this going to lead to any easing of any tariff? So far, the answer is no. So Mark Carney continues to just say things that bear no connection to reality. 50% is less than 100%. That's just math.
And the Prime Minister was asked today if he lied when previously explaining this agreement. His response was that he could have done a better job explaining things. Do you think he misled Canadians?
Absolutely. Absolutely he did. He told Canadians that Canadians would be paid back first, that the construction and debt servicing costs would be factored into this. Now we know that just wasn't true. Mark Carney saying that he could have been clear is the closest thing you get to a Liberal admitting that they deliberately misled Canadians. If he was so proud of this deal, if he thinks it's such a win, why did he keep it hidden? And we'll see. We'll see when we have this committee meeting. If Liberal MPs shut this meeting down, we know that's because they've got something to hide. When I'm proud of my work, when I was a kid, stick it on the fridge. When you're proud of your kids' homework when they come in, you stick it on the fridge with a big, a gold star on the front. If Mark Carney loves this deal and think Canadians are going to really appreciate giving up 50% of what was owed to them, he should be proud of it. He should stand by it and allow the committee to really investigate this.
Oh, there we go. Andrew Scheer with some pretty salient points, actually.
Wow. Yeah, pretty hard hitting. Actually, for him, right? He's usually he's a softball thrower, right? So,
but he raises a good point. I mean, Carney knew this deal. The deal is on paper. He misrepresented it to us so many times. And this was one of the things that we hear again and again and again that our Prime Minister is a good deal maker. He's a business mind. He has run, the economies of countries before.
Yep.
But here's just the biggest flop ever in the history of Canadian investment. He let the U.S. have a bridge in the same week that the guy brings the tariffs up to 50%. That does not look good on our prime minister.
Well, our show on Kuzma, for our listeners, please watch it because it
a good episode.
was really good. And it was a week or so ago that we actually predicted a bunch of this. But the question we ask, you and I had this conversation. We said, okay, why strategically would you resolve the bridge before you got to the table for Kuzma? Which is exactly what Andrew Scheer is saying. He's saying it makes no sense, right?
So you didn't get any concessions on anything by agreeing to this.
Not only didn't you get the concessions, you actually got whacked with a 50% tariff on many items.
And I see these guys now on the bridge, and they're going to do a ribbon cutting. And I just envision the American side of the border with their binoculars thinking, what are they doing?
What
What are they doing over there? Are they supposed to be on our bridge? Like, I don't.
Did someone tell them we're taking 50%?
Yeah,
Like, did someone give them did they read the White House memo?
Oh, that's
The White House memo. So, by the way, guys on the bridge. So that's the other interesting thing, Mike. Coming into the show, we're doing our research, and thank you to the team. It's actually very simple right now. Research has become a little easier because now the White House just puts it on the website. Quite frankly, they don't even hide it.
they don't care to hide any of the. In fact, they explain it like we are a bad country.
Yeah.
Canada, you're bad. You're very bad.
Fact sheet: Donald J. Trump imposes additional tariffs on Canada. Right, and then off they go. Right.
Check this out. President Donald J. The wording of this is so that of a medieval king.
Yeah.
President Donald J. Trump signed 3 proclamations pursuant to Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930 to impose an additional 50% tariffs on certain goods of Canada in response to Canada's discriminatory treatment of American products. By doing so, President Trump is offsetting the burden and the disadvantage on U.S. commerce from Canada's discriminatory treatment of the U.S. commerce, and is leveling the playing field for crucial American exports, cars, alcohol, and dairy. Wow, it's a proclamation.
Well, it is. And you know what, Mike, before you continue, 1930, right? So the Depression era. So this was actually the proclamation or the Tariff Act that they created was during the Depression.
Yeah.
And it was for unfair treatment because of economic times were being created because nationalism became all the rage throughout the world when the economy basically collapsed.
Right.
So he's using
everybody insulated into their own.
Exactly. And he's using Section 338 of the Tariff Act to enact this. That's how radical this is.
Now, we'll put up these slides and we can take a look at these as we go here. This, even the way they word this is just really mean. Each section of 338 proclamation imposes a 50% tariff on a different set of Canadian imports covering products ranging from wine, which they're very sore at us about, to hockey sticks, which is, meant to, I think, hurt our feelings, to cement. So really, the list is vast.
Well, I'm going to go through it.
Okay.
So when we get through this, I'm going to go through it with you because, he not only hits 338, he actually goes into Section 232. But the interesting part of it, he won't touch energy, potash, and other products and minerals and fish.
Right, the stuff he needs.
The stuff he needs,
yeah,
which is very interesting under this. So 338, he says, listen, I'm going to apply it to Mexico and the U.S. Aside from the items on, he says it applies to all covered goods regardless of whether a good originates under the Kuzma agreement.
Yeah, so basically it doesn't matter. Kuzma doesn't matter.
It's off the table now because it's the Tariff Act.
So what you've just told us, Paul, is Kuzma's dead.
Well, yeah, they've. They're again. You got to go on the White House site to just. It doesn't take much to figure out what the Americans are thinking because, quite frankly,
they put it there.
They just write it on the White House webpage.
Well, here's another one. The tariffs will take effect 30 days after signing and are designed to offset the burden. This is on the second page.
Yeah.
Offset the burden and disadvantage on U.S. commerce from Canada's discrimination. He keeps using the word discrimination here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
because it hurts Canadians' feelings.
Well, that's part of the 232, I think, and part of 338 is discriminatory practices. He can enact the tariffs, so that's why he keeps using.
That's
the
why he
language.
keeps using that
Yeah.
language. I see. Now, securing fair treatment for American exports. This is interesting. President Trump is taking action to hold Canada accountable for its continued discrimination against and unreasonable and unequal treatment of U.S. commerce that has burdened the disadvantaged, hardworking Americans. So now he actually highlights that his actions are on behalf of hardworking Americans.
Yeah.
He actually brings that into this. You know, we're not going to be letting them set up shop in Canada to build our products. No, no, no.
Yeah.
He's very succinct about this.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's all based 338, and then, you know, he goes on to talk about it. It says, when a country disadvantages U.S. exporters relative to exports of another country, to offset the disadvantage, he enacts the tariff.
Yeah.
How that's wacky, right? That's just, it is a little wacky.
It feels childish.
It is very tight. So, you know, I'm taking my ball and going home
exactly.
because, you know, I feel you didn't play fair.
Now, here's one of the things that I saw in the notes that came right off the White House. They cite some statistics that I don't think we've seen as Canadians. From April 2025 through March 2026, Canadian imports of U.S. motor vehicles decreased by approximately 22%, or $5.6 billion, compared to the same period in 24-25. Exports of motor vehicles from other countries to Canada have increased to meet the demand previously filled by U.S. exports. So he basically says, look, they've already filled the gap. They don't want to play fair with us. Canada's doing deals in other places that don't involve American-made vehicles, and he cites the decrease so that he can actually justify to the American people that this is warranted. But don't you think Americans see through this?
Is this true, though?
I don't even know if it's true.
I don't even know if it's true. Now, I do know, you know, the association president for the automakers in Canada, he seems to think that they're going to come out the other side on a decent way. So maybe, you know, maybe there is something here. I can't see it, to tell you the truth, but I'd love to dig into these numbers. And then, Mike, he goes on.
But doesn't he, sorry, and then just on that, he then admits to the American people, Canada has, they've managed to increase imports from other countries to offset what we sold them.
Well, he's saying China.
Yeah.
So he's coming back and saying, okay, you take EVs from China, you know, I'm going to whack you because, you know, you don't need us. So off we go. So you're okay on your own.
Normally this would be a really weak negotiating position. Okay, I guess you don't need our services. You've already found somebody else.
Yeah, so we're out of here.
I guess we're out of here, huh? But he goes back and makes it a point of discrimination.
Oh, yeah.
No, we worked around you. We worked around you.
Yeah, because you told us you were going to do it.
Right.
Yeah, and we had to go, we had to go get canola with the Chinese figured out. And quite frankly, they required us to bring 49,000 EVs.
So he's saying that his discrimination against us caused discrimination from us to them.
Yeah.
And that's warrants more tariffs. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
All but 2 Canadian provinces and territories have halted the purchase, distribution, or retailing of U.S. alcohol. Man, these guys get hung up on alcohol, don't they?
They do. It's a declining market, but whatever.
Open up a distillery. Calm down. And by the way, nobody drinks anymore.
Yeah.
Not as much, I don't think.
Not as
Maybe I'm
much.
wrong about that.
No.
For March 2025, and then he cites more stats. About 81%, or 582 million, was Canadian imports to the U.S. Were down by 81%, or 582 million. Once again, not a huge amount of money, but it's the first. Well, it is a huge amount of money, but in the grand scheme, it seems to be the one thing they really get caught up on, eh?
Oh, they do. Well, it is a big market. You know, you think about, you know, over the decades, production of spirits and wine and beer were a huge marketplace, and it got a lot of attention in America. You know, they became very proud of their ability to make alcohol, to produce alcohol, to produce good alcohol.
Jim Beam, Budweiser,
Jack Daniels. So, you know, a lot of things. So, you know, they're very proud of it. Quite frankly, when we say we don't want it on our shelves anymore, it is a slap in the face. But, you know, you made a good point. You know, it is a declining market. I don't know if it's is it something I would, yeah, okay, they don't want our alcohol on the shelves anymore. I guess we got to, if you're bringing all this manufacturing home due to tariffs, you should be able to get those people to move to other industries.
And also, you should be able to just service your own country. I mean, if really what you don't want is what 50% feels like to anybody is, I don't want to trade with you.
Right.
That's what it feels like. I don't want to trade with you. I have power in this position, but I don't want to trade with you.
Yep.
So I think when he starts to cite these replacements that we've made in the marketplace, I don't know that it's really good for him to be announcing that. I think that once again, that's a position, right?
Yeah.
But it's not good for America. Neither of these points that he's admitted are good for America. The first one says we've replaced the cars with other ones. The other one says, well, we don't need your alcohol.
Yep.
So I don't know what other indications he's going to need that he needs to negotiate in a friendlier manner. But anyway.
Yeah.
Part of the complicated and protectionist dairy system he talks about. Canada's established tariff rate quotas on U.S. cheese that are much more restrictive than the tariff rate quotas imposed on similar imports of cheese into Canada from the EU, despite Canada having trade agreements with both U.S. and the EU. Well, we don't really have a trade agreement right now.
Right. It's true. You said you didn't want one, right? We're kind of going year by year. We're under review. So, and then he goes on, honestly, Mike says, over the past year and a half, only 2 countries have chosen to retaliate against Trump's tariffs rather than negotiate a deal with the United States, the People's Republic of China and Canada. It's just, bam, right? Section 338.
Okay.
Section 338 tariffs imposed today make America wealthier, stronger, offsetting the burden and disadvantage on the U.S. commerce from Canada's discriminatory treatment of U.S. commerce. There you go, discriminatory again.
Okay, so here's the other thing. His fact sheets are just fun to read. I'm going to be honest with you. And well, by the way, if you want, Paul, we can attach this file on the website. If you subscribe, you'll be able to grab this. Keeping America first. President Trump is delivering on his promise to secure better outcomes for American workers, farmers, and businesses by using tariffs to restore reciprocity to trade and strengthen our national security. Okay. That's nice to say out loud.
Yeah.
But it's about as valuable as the Carney Davos speech, which has amounted to nothing. But there, again, it says it all. I'm sorry, I don't care about Canada in this deal. That's what that says. I care only about America in this deal. And that's, once again, a positioning statement.
Yeah. He said it time and time again. We don't need them, right? Even for oil, he said that.
Trump's America's First trade policy was created to benefit American workers. Okay. You've overstated that, I think, a little bit, because now we're not buying your cars. Now we're not buying your alcohol. You're not doing anything in that regard. And then he touches on CUSMA for a second. The United States under President Trump's leadership did not agree to renew the United States-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. So back to our dairy agreement. It's not in place anymore.
Yeah.
So he kind of contradicts himself there. And then he just goes on. He says, I like this as well. Not that I like it, but I think it's worth talking about. President Trump has taken actions under 232 to protect and strengthen U.S. manufacturing, critical for our national and economic security, including imposing tariffs on key goods such as steel, aluminum, copper, trucks, automobiles, timber, lumber, and pharmaceuticals.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, he's really taking a very specific section of CUSMA. He's cherry picking, I guess, is what it feels like to me.
Oh,
and we have that power. We can cherry pick what we want and what we don't.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This is incredible, Paul. That this is all right there, right on the
right off the White House website, Mike.
Imagine if Carney did this.
Oh, my goodness.
And put up the deal for the...
people go crazy. Yeah.
I almost wonder if we should start to encourage our prime minister to put all his MOUs up there so that we can have a little boo and explain them to us. Because that's really the one thing I will say in this.
Oh, yeah.
He's explained what he's doing.
Yeah, they do, and they do a lot of this, right? And I was mentioning before the show, they put these papers, national defense papers, everything. They post them right up on the White House website, and you can go take a look. You don't have to. But the interesting thing, Mike, you think that this would have been a story that we would have seen the last few days?
Yeah, I don't understand why Canadian press is not picking this document up and having a read of it with you.
They're not interested in it. They just want a soundbite for 30 seconds, 50% tariffs, on dairy, auto. Well, they didn't even really hit on auto, dairy, steel. They did a few things. But so I dug in. It's interesting. I started taking a look, and I came up with a bunch of sheets on what the 500 items that are on the list. Right. So it was interesting. And of course, yeah, if you do a summary, you take a look at it, there's all kinds of, and it has a product number under, the tariff code that talks about beers made from malt. There's all kinds of wines listed, rice wines, fermented beverages, rum, vodkas. It's very detailed, and it goes down. Then it gets into pickets, skewers, wood, wooden tables, densified wood, basket wood, paperboard, paperboard cellulose. It goes into different papers.
Ice hockey and field hockey articles.
Yeah, of course.
But field
right?
hockey's our national, isn't that one of our national sport? Oh no, it's lacrosse, right?
Yeah, lacrosse. So, but it does go into very detail on the 500 items, which are a lot of items. I don't think, I was a little shocked when I dug into it, Mike, the number of things. Then it goes into milks, creams. So there's 3 pages that just deal with
just
whey,
dairy. Wow.
Whey, milk, cream, dairy, bones and cores, hop cones, lactose syrup, glucose syrup, molasses, mixed baker's wares, non-alcoholic beer, casein glues, milk albumin, peptones, and their derivatives. So
listen,
it's quite extensive.
Paul, it goes down into what tulip bulbs, hyacinth, lily bulbs, even just plants for your garden. Are getting a 50%. I don't know if you've gardened this year, but it's not cheap already. And now this. This is extensive.
Well, and then
can you imagine if you're a business that has multi brands underneath your corporate umbrella, or you're a distributor of multi brands, you're all day long, you're just going through to see where you're going to be affected next week.
Well, there's got to be a ton of medium to small businesses. So actually, I picked this up. I was going through it. Who's affected by these tariffs? The new tariffs impact a broad range of industries, including electrical equipment, electronics, the hardest hit industries, forestry, furniture, cosmetics, and manufacturing. But the terrible thing is, the new tariffs in particular make them most damaging on small and medium-sized exporters.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and that's now he's not without strategy, because small and medium-sized exporters make up 2/3 of private sector jobs in Canada.
So he's really focused on items that make jobs. Will cost us jobs.
Oh no, this is very strategically planted. We're acting. It's funny because when you first start learning about this, you think, oh, it's only a few sectors, but then when you get into it, it's a lot of sectors, quite frankly. So,
it's vast. Electronics, plastic and rubber products, furniture and bedding, machinery and mechanics, chemical, cosmetics, toiletries, paperboard products, wood products, beverage and spirits. By the way, low on the list, I just want to point that out. Textiles, apparel, footwear, and accessories, precious metals and jewelry. And then and by the way, that's about what? $10 billion, $12 billion worth of business. And then there's a section that says all other sectors, and that's another $2 billion.
Yeah. Well, Mike, just some of the ones that popped out on the list, and again, there's 18 pages of the others. So natural honey, lilies, seeds, any fruit and vegetable seeds, kernels, basically lime bark, oils. There's a ton of oils on this list, quite frankly, for cooking oils.
Well, cooking oils, canolas.
Yeah, doughs, baker's wares, mixes, bitters, very detailed.
So
oils from
restaurants,
citrus.
bakeries, manufacturers of food items that are baked.
Yeah, they're going across. Anything to do with eggs, albumin. I'm going to say that wrong. Sorry. Candles, manicure materials, all kinds. Like you look at all this stuff and you think, my goodness.
It is at a micro level.
Vinyl tile flooring coverings.
Right.
Can't go across unless they have 50%.
That's wild.
Adhesive plates, sheets, adhesive, non-adhesive plates, cups, saucers, bowls, fittings, furnishings, knobs for furniture, caps, lids, seals, stoppers, whole hides and skins of bovine. It goes on and on, Mike. I'm looking at this.
It's a very eclectic list because it covers so many sectors and industries.
MDF over 5 millimeters, fiberboard, veneer panels, plywood sheets, there's plywood sheets. There's a whole page of the number of millimeters, laminated veneer lumber. It goes on and on. More plywood, pulp,
Well, I mean, there's just in just in the timber industry alone, just in the forestry industry, at a glance, it's about $3 billion worth of taxable trade.
Oh yeah, unbelievable.
Just in that one industry.
And it's interesting. Then it gets into textiles. There's quite a bit on textiles, which I was shocked. So knitted, crocheted, textile fabrics, T-shirts, singlets, tank tops, other garments, sweaters, pullovers, men's and boys padded sleeve jackets. It goes in very detailed. Suit jackets, girls' dresses, women's dresses. It goes into clothing, curtains. It's a lot of
almost every consumable item.
Yeah.
Is going to be taxed.
Yeah, and then there's a whole thing on cement, lead. Then it gets into tools, pliers, hammers, base metal, padlocks, locks, turbochargers, distilling and recycling plant equipment. It goes on and on. Yeah,
okay, so now,
but did you know that before this?
No, I actually thought that it was. I didn't realize that it got down to 800, I think, plus items specifically.
Yeah.
And by the way, each of these items have many products underneath.
Oh yeah.
Each of them.
Yeah. Oh, they're a category, right?
Right.
This is a descriptor.
So there could be 1,000 products underneath each category.
This that fit into this. And you look at color video monitors, radio remote control. Radar, radio navigational aid, and radio remote control antennas, antenna reflectors.
Anything with an antenna receiver on it, okay.
Yeah, floating structures, optical fiber cables. This is a lot. This again. I could spend all day on this, Mike. But this, and then at the last is paintings, drawings, postage or revenue stamps, articles of Christmas festivities. Ornaments, coin or coin or.
He wasn't happy until he actually ruined Christmas, huh?
Coin or token operated games for arcades.
Right. Yeah,
this is a lot. Golf equipment. So if we make any golf equipment, and then furnitures, there's a whole list, and seats. It's just honestly, there's
any kind of construction is affected by this. Any kind of department store is affected by this. Importers, exporters are affected by this, but it gets worse. Listen to this. President Trump has used tariffs extensively in his second term, but now he's threatening even bigger tariffs because we're smoking out America. Forget that Washington State is on fire and sending all the smoke to Canada.
Yeah.
We are destroying their summer, and therefore new tariffs have to be put into place. And some of his threats have said 100% tariffs.
Yeah, I've seen that. How do you tariff a wildfire? I have no idea. But obviously, he's using it as, again, another. Well, remember fentanyl, right?
Oh, that was
the beginning of this, right?
That was
We're
where this
starting
all
this
began.
off because, the borders are insecure, fentanyl, we're going to tariff. Then it became, okay, now we have Section 232, all the Section 338 sections that basically with discriminatory, unfair trade. So now we've really kind of got into the meat of it, right?
Now he's getting down to what he really means and what he really wants. And there it is, documented.
Right on his website, on the White House website. You don't have to go far to find it. And you don't have to go far to find the list of 500 items.
How do you feel about Carney's response to this so far?
Oh, well, so this is interesting. So, a very, on the heels of Gordie Howe Bridge, I think he was reeling. And, he came back and said, well, I've had a conversation with President Trump, and we're going to intensify the talks. Right? There's always these sound bites. So then, everyone's like, oh, good. They're going to, relax. I'm going to get these talks back on the rails, and they're going to get going. But this is interesting. He did tell reporters, and this was this week, which when I was traveling, I picked up on it and I called you about it. He says, well, Mr. Trump, I like the way he calls him Mark and he calls him Mr. Trump, and no one calls himself by the proper name.
Right.
Mr. Trump, he made a series of comprehensive and detailed proposals on how to modernize the trade deal governing Canada and the U.S. However, he did not provide any specifics, nor did his office. So we got hit with 500 items at 50%. We are struggling through a bridge that we just paid $6.4 billion on, and you hang it out there like a softball in the wind that, like a high and up pitch, that basically you've got a proposal on the modernization of our deal, and you're giving us no details.
No details on this. No details on the actual deal for the Gordie Howe Bridge. Do you know where you get detail?
On the White House website?
How is that possible? That you went to the White House website to find out what taxes would affect our country, why he's doing it.
Yeah.
The justification for him doing it. And then we come back and we see it's obvious to me that Carney is not in negotiations or discussions. It's obvious to everybody now because Trump proceeds with what he wants to do. Well, Mark Carney sits there and says, I've got a call into Mr. Trump.
But think about his week, right? Think about his week.
He's had a rough week.
He's had a rough week. You got a 50% tariffs coming from the U.S. The bridge deal is kind of imploding on him. And all of a sudden, he's got to make a trip down to PEI, a quick trip, which, great. He can fill the plane with lobster on the way back. But, right? Because we know those.
That's a trade deal still in place.
Those trips have some pretty nice meals on them.
Yeah.
So,
$100,000 a trip sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly. So, we know he gets down there, but by the time he gets down there, it looks like all the premiers are splintering, Mike.
Yeah.
It really does. It looks, you got the West Coast premiers who are just taking care of themselves. They're running, whether it be oil, whether it be canola, whether it be whatever, they're on their own. You
negotiating with each other over trade that should have been negotiated by the federal government a long time ago.
Yeah, we did a whole conference to figure out that we can now sell alcohol to each other. Okay, great. That's a real win. Okay, wonderful. Like that should have been like 10 minutes, but
it feels like a silly 10-minute meeting.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It feels like,
and I think Canadians feel that way too. Why are we getting together over this? Well,
Yeah.
we're not getting together over pipelines. We're not getting together over energy issues or the tariffs
or mining
or any of our
big ticket
oil,
infrastructure, jobs,
I mean, if the premiers want the
Inflation.
job of running the country together,
food affordability.
yeah, organize as a team. There's more. There's more. Hold on. Christoph put his hand up.
Housing,
He had two more. Oh, yeah,
housing,
okay.
immigration.
But if they're going to work, as Team Canada, as you like to call them, which is funny to me, if they're going to work as Team Canada outside of the federal, not purview, but outside of federal planning, they really need to come together, or they really need to get behind what the federal government's trying to get them to do. One of the two. But this is almost We're good at stalling, huh?
Well, we are, but they were waiting for him to land. So because this is the premier's meeting, it's not meant to be.
Right.
Prime Minister comes in for a day. They all go behind closed doors, and they all come out singing another hymn, and then the meeting's over.
Then they all go back to their province and continue to bitch and complain about each other and what Carney is doing.
Yeah, share lobster recipes, go back to their province, and then off they go. And then, quite frankly,
Yeah.
wait for the next meeting. But the interesting part, and we save a lot of shows, Mike, he's not waiting. So if you and I'd like to throw up, we have a clip from Greer, Jameson Greer.
Yeah.
Let's throw it up, Nick. And it's interesting because he's on a path, right? Like he's already like, here we go.
Yeah, and by the way, every time that they lump us in with anybody, they lump us in with China and Mexico as the new tariff countries. So just remember that we're getting lumped in with Mexico and China in almost every case.
The new 50% tariffs on Canada. Can you explain the timing? Why now?
So first of all, Canada has had its retaliatory measures in place on us for at least a year. Things like dairy have been discriminatory against the United States for even longer than that. So we have been considering, very tailored action to respond to those things, which we've done. So we have 3 separate actions: one for the hard cap that they've put on some of our cars, or the quotas and the system they put on our cars; the total ban they've put some of the provinces, many of the provinces, on alcohol and liquor and that kind of thing, and then of course what was the last one? The dairy. The dairy, where they give the Europeans a better deal than we do. So this is something that's been in preparation for some time. We have tried for over a year to get the Canadians to eliminate these things. Again, we've given them the best treatment available in the world in the past year or so, and despite that, they've still taken these actions, so we thought it was necessary to elevate this. Last question.
Going to further antagonize the relationship between the countries?
I have great interactions with my counterparts. I talk to them. For us, this is business, this is trade, this is economics. We're looking at bottom lines.
Not an entirely likable personality, not the guy that I'd like to see myself sitting at the trade table with, but he's made a point. They're really pushing on 3 things that matter most to Americans.
Yeah. He's a lawyer by trade, as we've talked about on previous shows. Again, Americans negotiate in a different style than we do. It's a style, cultural difference that you notice quite a bit when you work in America. Very heavy-handed sometimes, very aggressive. And he just said, listen, we've been talking about this for a year. We haven't got anywhere. Whether that's true or not, we're going to now enact 50% tariffs on 500 items. He can't even remember what they are for the most part.
That made me laugh.
He doesn't look like he really knows, or probably cares.
Yeah.
So quite frankly, and he just says it's a business. This is a business issue. We want concessions. You're going to provide them. If you're not going to provide them, we're going to hit you with a very heavy-handed tariff. So, we've thought it through. He does know, quite frankly, that hits our medium and low employment sectors and our businesses very hard.
Yeah,
they know that for sure. They've done. Obviously, they have the ambassador here. They have people here in Canada that are.
Well, they also have stats
doing the work that we do. Right.
They're also following the statistics of trade that we're obviously not following. You and I are getting statistics about Canadian trade in the U.S. from the U.S. Yes. We don't even cite the U.S. Can I point something else out?
Sure.
We've seen 2 clips.
Yeah.
Have you seen what media is present at those 2 press conferences? In the second one with Greer, I didn't see a single Canadian microphone extended.
No.
At the other one, we saw 3 media represented, and they're the same 3 media that we see at everything. And the only reason that we see those 3 media exclusively in this country is because nobody is left. So if we're wondering why are we the only ones talking about this, Paul? They're not there. They're not interested. This is not something they think is viable or interesting to Canadians for discussion.
No. And quite frankly, Mike, you've been in that industry longer than I have, but the economics of the industry, the media industry in Canada, the person covering it probably is getting paid for 1 hour. They're doing it part-time.
Right.
They got to get in and film, be back, edit, and be on the 6 o'clock or whatever. So they got to get their 30-second sound bite. They have exactly, probably an hour to 90 minutes to basically drive there, get the quick interview. They have to wait around till the person comes out they're interviewing, get the quick soundbite.
Right.
They get the soundbite they want. Boom, they're back in the car. They're back dropping it off. It gets edited and up it goes.
There was a
So
time.
to ask a really good, complex question, have a conversation,
Right.
wait around, have lunch with staff or whatever, that doesn't happen anymore. No one cares.
No, and you're right about that. And that's why when people say, okay, why is independent media getting so much attention? Well, this is why. We're the only ones that will sit for an hour and actually go through the documents. Some of them a little thick, I get it. But the general discussion that we're having right now isn't readily available through most media.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
we took those 2 clips, but we didn't see anything from the White House on this.
This week, I got to tell you, and I've said to the offline many times after the show, I've had this conversation with you. The media coverage on all the events that were happening through the Gordie Howe premieres and the tariffs this week has been horrifically bad.
Yeah.
And when I mean horrifically bad, I mean it's not been detailed enough. It's not been in depth. They haven't really dug into it. They don't understand it.
Journalism of yesterday would not have stopped until they got a copy of the deal that could be published in their newspaper or on their
Throw up a
network.
list of the items, for crying out loud, right? Just don't tell us it's dairy, lumber, and milk. Like, or tell us
Be a
hockey
resource.
sticks. Hockey sticks. They thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Right? Hockey sticks. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right?
But
But
what
it's
we
way
really
more
need-
than that.
Yeah.
And it's 50%.
And it
And-
could be 100 if we don't get our smoke under control. Like,
Yeah. But does that mean, so what does that mean? Again, like, I think we got to have that conversation now. If this can't get resolved, so I know, he says we're going to accelerate or intensify the negotiations. Yeah, you need to, because quite frankly, we talked about going in the show. We're 160 days left in this year. So you have,
wow.
you cannot go into the winter without this resolved at a 50% tariff level. Let's be serious. You can't. Small
No.
and medium-sized businesses that slow
Won't
down
survive.
in the winter months when the weather gets bad, if they're at a 50% tariff click, will not make it through the winter. So you'll have a mass fallout from that. So that is reality. That's where you're at. So you might as well put on the table what the position they've given you for modernizing tariffs in Canada and try to get some response from the public, because that's where you're at now.
You might find that we're okay with tariffs because we're going to do this, this, and this, but there's no strategy alongside this. Here's the other thing that I noticed. Maybe I'm wrong, and I haven't really been paying attention to the opposition on this. Andrew Scheer's the first guy I've seen talking about this from the opposition, to be honest with you. I mean, I saw a little clip, a soundbite from Polyev earlier in the week, but when the 50% tariff thing arrived, he seemed to disappear into the woodwork, and Andrew Scheer pushed to the front.
What?
Okay. But it would be nice to hear that the leader of the opposition is getting together with our prime minister on this issue. Like, let's see it. Let's visibly see you go into a room together and discuss this and come out with some sort of solution that works, that can be backed by everybody in the country. The other thing that we saw was, there's Greer saying, well, it's been sitting there for a year. Is that because we're not negotiating or they're not negotiating?
No, we're stuck. So, there are some items, it's not, part of it's true, part of it's not. But, we are stuck. We're not going to concede. Our alcohol position was our alcohol position. Our dairy position is our dairy position. We're not conceding on those.
Should we be negotiating instead of not conceding?
Well, that's the discussion, right? So they're at a stalemate. So unless they can figure out, and quite frankly, there's the discussion, should we counter tariff or retaliatory tariffs? My guess is if we retaliate, if we do that, retaliate, then quite frankly, he's going to take that to 100%. Like you've seen the player, right? You've seen what's going to happen. So quite, is that a solution? I don't think so at this point.
Did you get the feel when you were down east, and I'll share my West Coast experience. By the way, we're about to do those tours again. If you'd like to catch up with us while we're doing that, we love it. What was the feeling that you got on tariffs and trade as you made your way to the East?
Didn't see a lot of impacts. I'll be truthful. I went through, and we're going to do a show on it, but just a quick synopsis. Montreal was really busy, quite frankly, doing a lot of trade with the U.S. right now. Trucks going all over the place. Through the East Coast, it's actually, the East Coast has cleaned up significantly. It looked really good. Honestly, they were busy, active. Halifax, there's a lot going on right now. People are very happy. PI, of course, always the same, very brilliant people, always challenged by the environment. I say Newfoundland, Labrador are just waiting for announcements. They're sitting on the cusp of brilliance. And that's where they're, so it's a different environment. And you see it in those negotiations with the premiers, right? The premiers are walking in. Some of them are like, just don't touch me. And quite frankly, if I didn't need to be here, I would rather not rather just get on a plane and fly back. There was a lot of that at that meeting. There was a lot of like, okay, I'm taking the picture. I got the photo up. I don't really want to do an interview, and I hope I get on the plane quickly and, just send my oysters and lobsters to the following address because that's all I want. You could see that, right?
Right.
And I'm like, well,
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the fun beach-loving vacation they used to get when they'd have the meetings there last year and the year before and the year before. This was kind of like, shit, I got to go now.
I've got to focus on this. It's interesting on the way down, as we made our way to the West, I would ask about, how have tariffs affected you, affected our workload. Honestly, no, I'm not seeing a huge amount of it. I think a lot of companies have adapted. We still have a lot of stuff in warehouses here. 6 months from now, I think, is when we start to feel the effects of this. So, Carney, you better move.
Christmas.
All right. Well, look, thanks for joining us. We do this all the time. We do several shows a day. If you would like to follow us more closely, get some detail on other stories that we don't put on the network, come behind the wall with us and enter the membership realm. And in there, more shows, different content, and even live and interactive stuff where you can tell us what dingalings we are. Thanks so much, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Looking for reliable and convenient personal safety products? Less Lethal has you covered. As Canada's only authorized Byrna distributor, we provide a range of products for recreation, protection, and security. Explore our Byrna launcher lineup, including the LE, SD, TCR, and Mission 4, designed for different levels of performance and protection needs. We also offer the Banshee personal safety alarm, designed to protect children, women, and vulnerable individuals. Because your safety is our top priority. Shop now at lesslethal.ca.